Should I pay off my debts before buying a home? Making a financial decision, especially when it involves two or more options, can be very difficult. This also applies to the question of whether you should pay off your debts before buying a home or vice versa. Sometimes, you may be able to pay off your debts and buy your dream home at the same time. But prioritizing one may also save you some money. That said, before taking a decision, you've got to consider some factors such as your financial position, debt creditworthiness, and even market trends. Here are some factors you should consider to arrive at an informed decision. 1. Examine the types of loans and respective interest rates. Note that while some debts can be dangerous and difficult to exit from, others are fairly easier to manage. Below is the list of some available loans and their corresponding average interest rates. Auto loans, 4%. Credit cards, 16%. Mortgage loans, 3%. Personal loans, 10%. Student loans, 3%. Considering the differentials in the above different types of loans and interest rates, you can decide which debts or loans to pay before buying your home and which ones to suspend. 2. Know the types of debts to prioritize. Consider paying debts that attract high charges and loans that can impair your credit history if you default. Try to get rid of the emotional factors that may set in and affect your plan. Debts to prioritize. From the information above on the different classes of debts and interact rates, you will agree that paying high interest rate debts such as credit cards, 16%, and personal loans, 10%, first is a wise financial decision to take. So, ensure you balance up these kinds of debts before buying your home. Apart from escaping from high interest rates, balancing up your credit card loans will have a positive impact on your credit score. Note that around 1/3 of your FICO score depends on your current debts, and credit cards have more impact on your score than other loan classes. Balancing up on your credit card debts will ease your credit utilization ratio, a term used to compare the quantity you are owing with your existing credit. A low credit utilization ratio will boost your score and heighten your creditworthiness. It is advisable to curb your borrowing to a maximum of 30% of your credit line. An auto loan is another example of debt that can weaken your financial stance. Although most car loans have relatively low interest charges, the repayment period may be too long and you end up paying more. For example, some car loans offer as much as a 6-year repayment period. So, paying off your car loan before buying your dream home is often a wise decision, especially if the period is too long. Personal loans of 10% are also on the high side, and you need to get rid of them before they eat deep into your finances. Debts to suspend and pay later. Suspending some debts won't have much negative impact on your finances. Most of these loans are less costly to manage, and they also carry low interest rates. Some of them include student loans, mortgage loans, and short-term car loans. 3. Your credit score is an important factor. You surely will prefer to have a high credit score and repay your loans with good credit. Many loan issuers set minimum conditions for credit score and won't accept anything below such a threshold. Some may not grant you loans if you meet the conditions, but with a low score. You may have to confront stringent loan conditions and relatively higher interest rates because you pose a higher risk than an applicant with a better credit score. In short, if you have an outstanding credit score, you are in a more suitable position to acquire a residence before offsetting your debt. However, if you have an inadequate credit score, negating your deficits will be a promising choice. 4. What is your debt-to-income ratio? To know your financial standing, you need to take into consideration your debt-to-income ratio, DTI, which is the fraction of your total income monthly that you can use to offset the loans. Both government and private lenders will want to be sure that your monthly earnings can reimburse your loan. A high DTI indicates that you may have a hard time compensating for the loans, while a low DTI is more acceptable. Most lenders don't lend money to those with 50% DTI or more. Even if the comparative number is a bit less than 50%, you may be deemed risky. In essence, if your DTI is high or you find your expenditures and bills difficult to sustain, you should contemplate reimbursing your deficits before buying a home. 5. Consider the current prices of the local market and the real estate. What are the local market and real estate showing about the current and future housing prices? For example, you'll be making a wise financial decision when you buy a house when the interest rate is low. But low interest rates may also encourage sellers to raise house prices. Pay attention to the numbers to know the fundamentals behind the movement of housing prices at a particular time. 6. Remember to set aside an emergency fund. Regardless of the decision you are taking whether to first pay off your debts of buying a house, it is advisable to have an emergency fund that is money that you can fall back on whenever in time of emergency. This step will protect you from sinking further in debts. According to some experts, creating an emergency fund should be one of your top decision goals. They suggest that you save at least some thousands of dollars that can last you for some months in times of financial crisis. Conclusion: to answer whether to pay your debts before buying a home or vice versa, consider the following. Assess the different types of loans and their respective interest rates. Pay high-interest loans or expensive debts first and defer the payment of lower-interest loans or less expensive ones. Take your credit score seriously. Evaluate your debt-to-income ratio. Consider the current prices of the local market and real estate. Always set aside an emergency fund.